Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, a very, very big welcome to tutorial 4 of ICT204 project management. You guys have started basically working very hard on the tasks that you guys need to go and be completing in terms of the progress work. I have to go and say that the project charter that I've actually went and marked myself so far, many people followed this structure that I went and I recommended and communicated for them. I noticed, for example, that some people haven't followed the structure that we are actually explaining or communicating. And for those people, we encourage you to go and make sure you're following our lead in terms of the structure that you are expecting to go and really following to be able to go and get the job done. So we need to really go and do things appropriately, and we need to make sure we're doing good tasks and good progress in order for us to be able to go and be given some marks. So please make sure you guys working hard on a task to be able to go and ensure the job goes and gets done. I want to basically go and remind everybody that you need to be working in a groups. Anyone who believe they don't have a group, it is very, very important to go and make contact with your lecturers immediately, specifically the people not simply lecturing you, but the tutorial, your tutors directly email them, let them know, look, I don't know who I'm with in terms of the group. I need to work on that group assignment and I don't have a group, or whatever reason it is. It's just about ensuring that we are communicating and getting the right information happening. We need people to be working, contributing to the task. So it's very, very important to be able to go and ensure we get the job done. Remind that it is your responsibility to get yourself in a group. You need to get yourself into a group. Like if you don't have a group, you need to speak up and tell us you don't have a group, so that we'll be able to go and deal with that information. We need to discuss any group issues and encourage all individuals to be able to go and cooperate. So any group problem, any issue, I'm going to go and ask this question now, and I need you to go and make sure you communicate any issues about the progress of your team to your tutors. The way you communicate it is when your group leader goes and makes submission on Moodle of that work, they need to go and add a table, and in that table they write percentage contribution per team member. If anyone is not contributing equally to the task, we need to know that, and we need to basically go and deal with that issue as quick as we can, because the job needs to go and be completed. Everybody must be contributing equally. Now I'm going to go and pause the recording for a minute to see if there's any issues relating to my groups here. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for discussing with me individually now in terms of any group issues. I'm glad to see that you guys are progressing in my group well. I want to encourage everybody in other tutorials to make sure they are having that strong discussion about ensuring that everybody is actually doing their job the way they're supposed to go and be doing the work. Anybody not doing the work is going to go and unfortunately be penalized, and they're going to be losing a lot of marks. So you need to make sure you're doing the job. You need to make sure you're working as hard as everybody else. There's no one's going to go and have an easy pass. You all need to be present in the actual class. Now, the second thing I want to go and do today is we're going to review the assignment 2 case study again. We're going to review the assignment 2 case study, which is available on Moodle. So I'm going to go and go to the to Firefox now, and I'm going to go and where's that? Firefox. Okay. Let me go here to Moodle. All right, so we're going to go and have a look at all of these tasks that needs to go and be completed. But let's just go and have a look at the subjects for a minute. And let's go and look at the information here. We basically are able to go and have a look at the requirements of that assignment. So again, we are talking about, you know, a group assignment needs to go and be applying the PIM book guidelines to project management. We need to be in groups of 3 to 4. And this is the task details, the background, you know. An Australian-based IT company is called CMSIT. They currently provide a range of websites for external customers. Okay, great. They are currently working with various industries, and the most recently have been awarded a contract to be able to go and create an intranet website for tracking COVID-19 vaccination that are administrated. Yes.
I'm able to see your screen.
Thank you very much. That they are actually administrated by general practitioners across New South Wales. This is the website of the AMAA website. You'll be able to go and have a look at it for more information. We are giving you a very, very clear task. You basically have a, you know, we are appointing a team to be able to implement a website that is reusable later by other states. To keep track of all of these vaccination that needs to go and be completed. It needs to be completed in 4 months and a budget of a maximum $1.2 million. We need to go and ensure there are so many modules to be delivered. Every one of these modules, I needed to go and think about it, and I needed to go and write it and plan it in terms of how things need to go and be delivered. GP names, details, qualifications, patient details, product details, vaccination statistics, and so on. We'll talk about all of that information that basically has been done. We're talking about the outcomes. One of the things is you need to decide, you know, are you going to be using WordPress, or are you going to go and use you know, which Drupal or WordPress you're going to go and use. And you're going to have to go and explain why are you using one management system instead of the other management system. You know, there's other things we need to go and know about the system. It needs to be, you know, robust cloud infrastructure. You need to specify the production environment. You need to set up the resources. So there's all of these things. It needs to have security. So this is really clearly about the modules in terms of what are we trying to really go and deliver here. That needs to go and really be considered into a lot of details. You've already done the charter. You're now having more things to go and submit, such as a scope and stakeholder register. You're going to have things further to go and submit. But I basically remind everybody now, once and for all, if you are going to go and get a good mark, you need to do something for us. And that something is you need to make sure you are going to go and you are going to go and actually make sure we are having a good written work breakdown structure that lists all the tasks that needs to go and be completed in order for a particular job to go and actually get done. We also need to go and make sure that we are going to go and add people to the task, add start dates and end dates. This is basically going to go and actually make sure we're going to go and, you know, have a proper schedule, proper budget, proper timelines in order for us to be able to go and ensure the job will go and actually get done appropriately the way it should go and it should be done. So that's something to really go and bear in mind in terms of how the work needs to go and really be completed in order for us to be able to get the job to go and be completed. The marking guides, we'll talk about them in a bit further because it's really more communicated on the lecture slides in terms of what you need to do. Does anybody here have any questions about what they need to go and be doing for their assignment? Is everyone clear and progressing and don't have any questions about the work that needs to be done? All good here, or any questions?
All good.
So for about the assessment one about project charter.
Yep.
Sir, how can we do that?
What do you mean, how can we do that?
Like, because we haven't done it yet for making draft. So,
okay, but because you've just basically you attended, you just enrolled recently, correct? Is that correct, or have you?
No, previous week.
Okay, previous week. So is this your first class with me today?
No, sir.
Okay, so how you do it, you need to go and actually follow what I've communicated last week and the week before. So you need to go and look at the first way I recommend is I want you to go to the JWD case. So the JWD case gives you, gives you some information. It's under week 2. You go and find that there's a JWD internet project. If you go and open that file, it basically gives you some guidance in terms of the how do you kind of make a project charter. You basically could go and use that information as some foundational information for you guys to go and use. So this is developing project charter. You'll have a structure you can go and actually look at here. But I want to also communicate for you so you can read that as a start. But what I communicated and what I recommended for people, especially people in my tutorial, I did recommend a particular structure that will help you guys to make sure you cover so many good detailed things. And that was the structure that I communicated for you guys in my tutorial, only for my students. If the other students are in another tutorial and their tutor, communicating the main structure that is on Moodle, that's fine. But you basically, you're asking me here because you're in my class. So this is the structure that I told you last week. I recommend you go and do. And that's something you basically could go and incorporate as part of your assignment. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions? Alrighty, so gonna just move back then to the lecture slides. So I just went in to just re-show you the what you need to go and do in terms of your assignment. Went through the case study. As I said earlier, you need to make a key decision on your content management system. Are you going to be using WordPress, or are you going to go and using Drupal? And why are you going to be using any particular system or the other system? So we need to go and really bear in mind what we're trying to go and do in terms of the work that needs to go and be completed, in terms of the work to be able to go and get the job done. The project approach, including installing and configuring content management system, designing all the modules, and any typical aspect of the system development life cycle. In other words, a cycle that gets followed to be able to go and deliver a sort of software project. So I encourage you to go and explore more about the system development life cycle, and trying to go and identify all of these aspects that you'll be able to go and incorporate as part of your work in terms of the work that needs to be done for the job to go and be completed. Now, groups are responsible for submitting working documents. Now, I did show some clemency in relation to submission, especially, one person submitted late, and I tried to be helpful, but I want to remind you, we are working and teaching you about project management, and project management is about delivering things on time, on budget, and within specifications. The first thing is about getting things done on time. Okay, so I need you to teach yourself and learn to go and submit the job on time, because if you don't submit on time, that doesn't mean you are going to be getting the mark for it. So it's about ensuring you're going to go and follow the criteria in terms of how you need to go and work, because we not simply teaching you to go and deliver the subject, we're actually teaching you about how do we want you to go and become professional to going to go and really work in industry in real life. So it's very, very important to really think about that component that we're trying to go and really deliver. And it's not about this course, it's about your career. And I need to make sure you guys are very, very good and very ready to be able to go and start delivering things on time the way that should be done. You don't submit, you will lose 5 marks. So far, I already marked people in this tutorial, people, majority got full marks. And it's about basically continuing to show me good quality work. we said it is going to go and need to be a good attempt, not a shit attempt, not a crap attempt. It needs to be a good attempt. If it's not really a good attempt, we're going to have a problem with it. We need to make sure that you have spent the time required to be able to deliver quality work that we consider appropriate and we consider meeting the quality that we would like it to go and be. The final report, usually if you are late, you are getting 5% penalty per late submission, unless there's a reason for that late and unless there's a special consideration that has actually been approved. Without the presence of these things, you will actually get a late penalty. You won't be able to go and get marks for many of these things. So it's very, very important to submit the things on time. Tell me, my friend.
Can we see the marks in grade now?
I think they should be present there. Yeah, should be.
It's like when I see it is showing like among 25%, there is just one.
One. That's mean you got 1 mark over 1.
So it is supposed to be 5 marks. Huh?
No, it's 5 marks across 3 weeks. So you've just done one part of it. That's 1 mark. Then you have to do the other one. That's another 2 marks. Then you have to do the third one. That's another 2 marks. All combined are 5 marks. And then you have the final report, which is 20 marks. So if it's showing you 1, that's mean you just got 1 over 1 for that draft document that you've submitted.
For the project charter.
Correct. Does that make sense, Pramod?
Yeah, also.
No worries. Anybody else have any other questions? Or righty, no problem at all. Thank you very much. Now, guys, we need to go and talk about other things. How things are going to be marked. What are you going to go and be expected to do? The 20 marks, which is this last component here, the final project report. That's what we're going to basically be marking you on. Is there a project charter? Is there a scope? Is there a stakeholder register that are good? These are 5 marks. They're marked on quality and correctness. Schedule, work breakdown structure, risk register, budget. These are all linked together. If you don't do a good work breakdown structure, everything else becomes wrong and it affects every single other thing in your project. That's again, 5 marks completed, again, marks on quality and correctness. We need to complete project management professional, including any extra activities and extra work you want to do. That's 7 marks for that. And how you're presenting your work, grammar, referencing, things to go and bear in mind from that perspective. When I say about the extras, extras, what are they? Something like the Gantt chart, cost analysis, network diagram, requirements register. All of these are extra things you go and do to be able to show us that you're doing more than simply the minimum basic amount of work required. And because of that, we are going to go and encourage you by giving you many more work at that particular point of time. So extras refer to items like, as I said, Gantt chart, further cost analysis, network diagrams, to name a few. They will offset mistakes only if delivered. If hand only the requirement that is acceptable. So we need to go and see acceptable work, acceptable quality that we are seeing there to be able to go and offset for other things that you basically have missed. There's 7 marks to try to get extra marks in here. We've given you many support materials in weeks 2 and week 3. We will go through previous assignments with another case study starting next week to be able to give you more and more guidance on the work that you need to go and be completing, but you need to continue to really work hard to be able to go and get the job done. Task 4, we're going to go and have to review an example assignment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and review the sample assignment 2 that is published on Moodle under week 2. So let me go and open that file now for you. Okay, and if I go and look here, we're going to look, I'll be able to go and see that, there's a complete assignment. Let's go and look at that assignment, guys. So what is on Moodle? Well, there's a cover sheet, all the student numbers and names and details needs to be there. Executive summary. Guys, this should always be before the table of content. I always like to kind of tell you what is wrong with this sort of summary so that I'll tell you how you can go and improve. I don't like the fact that the executive summary is listed in the table of content because it will never be in the table of content. It has to always be before the table of content. You know, you know, in this example, for example, the table of content seems to be a manual table of content, so it's not even automated. I recommend that you guys go and do automated table of contents to be able to go and gather the improvements that are basically needed at any point of time. If we go and continue looking down, there's no numbering, you know, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, there's no numbering actually being shown here in terms of all the activity, you know, tasks. Communication, for example, it's not a task. Like communication is not really something that I see as something appropriate for the table of content. You know, goals, business objective, in scope. What is that? Like, are you trying to tell me that there's a project charter and you tell me these are the content of the project charter? That's something you need to go and you know, get better in terms of your work because the table of content definitely need to be much better than the table of content that is actually showing here. It's not very good. Yes, it's trying to go and incorporate many activities or many of the things that needs to go and be done. That's fine. But yeah, they need to be you know, there need to be much more information really shown in terms of the work and what needs to be done. But let me show you this executive summary. There's one font and there's a different font here, not even consistent. There's utilize, so that's what we call UK English, not a US English. That's a UK, that's a US English, not a UK English. We needed to go and try to learn to use UK English instead of US. And that's definitely much more appropriate. And here, you know, team contract, okay, that's fine. I get it. You're trying to make a contract, no problem. Participation, we will, okay, that's all part of the contract. How are we going to communicate? That's fine. Kickoff meeting, all right, that's good. You're showing meeting minutes, no problem. That's again, not bad. Project charter. You know, there's various objectives, various goals, business benefits. I never like this to be here. That's one of the problems I sometimes recommend. You know, don't like the structure that you know, some of the structures that show the scope, because you know, the scope is going to be in another section. Like if I go and look here, you know, we're talking about scope statement. Okay, if I'm doing a scope statement this week, why am I going to go and create and talk about scope in the actual project charter? It just makes no sense to me. Stakeholders, okay, great. Who are they? Couldn't you really do a better list of stakeholders? Maybe a table, maybe tell me how are they different? What are their requirements? What are their needs? I think you could do much better than what you are actually showing me at this particular point of time. Constraints, dependencies, you know, are things I need to go and know about. You know, what are the requirements? You know, deliverables, reviews, what are we going to deliver? How are we going to go and review it to make sure the job has actually been done at a particular time? You know, project approach, how are we going to go and deliver the project? You know, resourcing and costing. I don't think we can get really any good resourcing and costing at the beginning. I think, you know, it's, you know, we know, for example, from the summary we've given you that the project is going to estimate it of $1 to $2.2 million and it's going to go and take 4 months. We know that, but what we don't know, you know, when we go and start putting all of these details at the beginning of a project charter, I think this is basically becoming inappropriate, because at the beginning of the project, we won't really know any of this nitty-gritty details yet, because we haven't created the work breakdown structure. We haven't created the budget. We haven't created the schedule. If we don't actually create any of that information, this is always going to really be a problem. So you can see how they've done all of these summary and they haven't even started the project. I think it's just, you know, I don't agree with it, and I definitely don't think it's actually reflective of what we know in a project charter, usually at the beginning. A scheduled summary, all right, when everything's going to go and be delivered, all right, fair enough. But you see how it's incoherent, like there's no plan, there's no numbering, it's not written like a report. It's like, let me go and pick up pieces and put piece. It's not even written as a proper report, and I really don't like that. Like quality, okay, why is there a big space here? Why are we leaving all of these spacing? Like, it makes no sense. Scope statement. Okay, you can see all of these writing, and I'm thinking, well, okay, you want to put all of these deliverables and whatever the characteristics requirement, but my question is, why can't we go and make it as a proper table? Why can't we make it as a proper structure, and try to get really the job done in an appropriate manner? I think there's much more to be done in this particular item here. Project success criteria. Can I present that information better? Can I make some bulleting? Can I talk technical and talk non-technical items? Just make it display better overall. Stakeholder register. Okay, great. You kind of highlighting different stakeholders. What do they want? What do they need? That's good. It's not bad in this particular example. So that's good. It's good. It is a good register because they kind of identified so many people, a client manager, corporate member. But I'm looking here. It seems to me like they all kind of, I don't know, waltzing Matildas. Yeah, okay. They kind of talking also about external stakeholders. I think one thing I would say, I would basically clearly highlight, are they internal stakeholders or are they external stakeholders? I'll be able to go and add that information. It becomes much more clearer for me. So that's something I probably would change if I can. All right, continuing down. Work, break, and structure. Guys, what do you think? This is a work, break, and structure. What do you think about this work, break, and structure? Let me show it to you again. So it starts with, 4 tasks for scope statement, 3 tasks for planning, 3 tasks for infrastructure, for requirements. What do you think?
Not satisfying.
Not satisfying. Why is it not satisfying?
It could have been made separately.
Well, it could have been made into much more detail. Okay, it needs to be much more detailed. Okay, this is basically this is not detailed. It needs to be into much more details than basically what it actually goes and needs to be. And this is basically not happening the way it should go and should be completed. So when you want to go and talk about something, don't give me general information. I am telling you specifically what we need for that assignment. I'm telling you specifically, we need to go and have, I'm telling you, we need to have a GP patient details, GP details, vaccination statistics. We're telling you specifically the things what we need. You can't go and create for me a report that just have general information and doesn't mention anything about the specific things I'm asking for. If you're not showing the specific things, that means you're making a general assignment, not thinking about all the details that needs to be incorporated into every one of these tasks. It's very, very important to go and bear in mind the details that are required to get a good job to go and be delivered. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Alrighty, risk register, guys. The risk register could have been much more better. You can see how it's messy. Some things not appearing, numbers are not appearing well. Likelihood, high, medium. It's not really appearing very well here. You could have basically created color schemes. You could have created contingency planning. There's so much more you could have done in the risk register. This is a very basic level risk register. Yes, likelihood, impact, severity, that's good, but maybe you could use colors to be able to kind of easily show the high priority risks versus all of these low priority risks we basically go and deal with. But it's good that they kind of look at various things like operational risk, financial risk, environmental risk, technological risk. But I would say maybe, it's good. You have to go and think about it in more details about how the task needs to go and be done. Now, let's look at the budget. You see how they're telling us a budget, project manager, business analyst, and so on? Can you see that? Let me go and link that. Okay, so they're telling me we need a project manager for 150 days. Let me ask you this question. If I go and show you this work break and structure again here, can you actually tell from the work break and structure that we need a project manager for 150 days? Can you actually tell?
No.
No. So what do I need to do with the work break and structure before I even get a budget? I need to have a work break and structure. Then I need to start adding a schedule. What I taught you today. I need to add a schedule, start time and end times. I need to add people. Then I will be able to know how many hours I need project managers, how many hours I need testers, how many hours I need business analysts. You basically start having more information to be able to go and really answer the question. Without that, you're basically missing a lot of the information that is actually really needed. So you need to go and really create a lot of details. You can't just simply come and give me a table like this and say, oh, we're going to need 150 hours of project management. I'm going to say, well, how do you know that? Where is that information? Because that showed me you did not spend the time that is required to create a good work break and structure, to then create adding resources and adding a schedule to it, to then really, if I look at the schedule and at your resources, then I can easily see that you created a summary table, and that summary table relates to your work break and structure and to the schedule that you created in the previous slide. No summary, no information equal no mark. It's very important not to just simply give me a table, but to actually show me that that table relates to what's up there. Training. There's not even a place here. Like, let's look here. Okay, testing, maintenance. Where's training? Where's training? I can't even see one training. Where is training coming from? So there's no linkages between the work break and structure and the budget that is actually listed in that particular example. You need to do much more than that. Group report, okay, that's fine. You're kind of talking what everybody did and so on, no problem. Guys, one very important thing I want you to go and do in the participation that is very, very simple and needs to be added. I need to see in very simple words what I asked you so far. So I need to go and see in a table something like, where's that? Right, I'm going to go and maybe it's okay. I need to see in a very, very simple that in that report that you submit to us, I need to see a very easy table. It shows everybody's name and what every person contributed. If someone only contributed nothing, they will get no marks. So you put me 0% and they will get no mark. If someone only contributed less than everybody else, they will get less marks. So when you're going to go and submit your final report for us, we're going to need to be able to go and really look at that particular information that needs to go and be done. So we can't just simply go and do things the way they are. We basically are going to create a proper table. The details are good, but I need a very easily, before that details, I need a table, and I need that table to clearly explain in summary how much each person went and contributed. If someone contributed less, I need that to be mentioned, and then you can discuss that information further in the details information that you'll be providing. But most important, we want to see a table. It has to kind of show the name of each person with the percentage contribution of each person. Make sure you're not missing that very, very important section. Finally, there's a conclusion of the overall work, and there's something really, really important that is missing. What is it?
Thanks.
References.
References list. There isn't even a references list here. Where's the research? Where's the work that we basically are doing? We do expect you to go and work in the quality that is needed, and that quality in this particular example is actually lacking. It is actually not here. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Any questions? Alrighty, so I'm going to go now to continue. So I just basically, showed you assignment 2 published on Moodle. In future tutorials, guys, I just want to let you know, we will go through other handed examples. We'll show you, we'll guide you, we'll basically try to get you to have a better understanding of the work that needs to go and be completed. We want you to do well. We really care about you, and we want you to go and make sure you are attending your classes. But when I say attending the classes, it's very, very important that you don't actually go and attend things late, but you actually attend and do things early to go and get the job done. We spoke about project charter. You should have handed your work already on the project charter as a draft. It was due on Sunday. I personally provided feedback to everybody who submitted their work to me. The feedback is there because there's, the leader. I've made sure that all the comments go to the leader for the leader to go and communicate with everybody else. I've put some summary, very brief summaries for everybody else who is not the leader, and they will have to basically communicate and work closely with the leader on what the issue and what things could go and really go and be improving. You have till the end of week 6 to progressively elaborate. In other words, the work that you submitted today or on Sunday, and the work that did not really fully meet the quality that is needed, then what we've done there is we want you to go and make sure you pick up all of that feedback, you'll pick up all of this information, and then we'll be able to go and deal with that, improve it. Like, look at what I'm giving you as a comment or what your tutor is giving you, and see what they're saying you need to go and be improving, and make sure you basically go and incorporate and do all of those improvements that needs to go and be completed. You cannot go and not do the work that is needed. It's very, very important to go and get the job done as good as that job should actually go and be completed. Now I'm going to go and playing some information for you now. So just get ready for that now. It's first, because you need to go and complete a stakeholder register. I'm going to go and play that video now for you. We might have played it in earlier session, but we'll just play it again for you. That's the first one, and then there's going to be another one I'm going to be playing that is also very, very relevant. So pay attention to that. That's the first one I would like to go and explain. Let's go with that.
So let's take just a moment and look at an example of a stakeholder register. This particular register is in Google Sheets, but you could do this in Excel, in SharePoint, in a number of other tools. The important thing is that we understand what we might include in the stakeholder register. So in this particular example, I have an ID, okay, so that we can reference the stakeholders. We include their name. Now, I really like to have the individual, if it is an individual, I like to have their name. We're dealing with people, and so I don't want to know just their title, but I want to know who they are. So we include their name. We certainly want to know their title. We want to know their role in the project. So are they a sponsor? Okay. Are they a vendor? Or are they a subject matter expert? And as we've talked about, it's important with the stakeholders that we consider the level of power and the level of interest that each of the stakeholders have. And so for each stakeholder, we ask ourselves, how much power does this stakeholder have? Is it low or high? And how much interest do they have in the project? Is it low or high? And then for each of the stakeholders, we want to know their needs and wants. Now, be careful here. We're not talking about detailed requirements. Okay, this is the stakeholder register. So just at a very high level, what do they need? So Gary Moore, who's the VP of sales, says the project's got to be completed by the end of the third quarter. Okay. If we were to look at Ron Hall, the sales manager, he's interested in new features in the sales tools. We look at Dawn Smith, the programming manager, she's thinking about the programmer on this project and is thinking, hey, you know what, I may need that developer for month-end processing. So it'd be great to know that early in the project. The next thing that we want to know about these stakeholders are their concerns. And so as I'm interviewing these stakeholders, I like to ask the question, what are your concerns on the project? What do you think might hinder our ability to complete this project? So Gary Moore, the VP of sales, says, you know, my concern is that our competition may deliver a competing product sooner. Ronnie McKinney, the senior developer, says, I'm concerned about the complexity of the interface to the third-party vendor. Julie Johnson, who's in the testing area, says, I'm uncertain as to how the new stress testing software will perform. And so each of the stakeholders, we ask them, what are their concerns? So fairly simple example, but you want to just make sure you've got a register. Again, you could do this in any kind of spreadsheet or other, you know, project management information systems have capabilities for capturing or may already have this type of function available. So check that out. Give that a try. I think you'll find tremendous value in the use of a stakeholder register.
All right, guys. So that's the first thing in terms of the stakeholder register. And what you notice is that these colleagues that they've done the previous assignment, they basically seem to have picked up some of that information that basically was related, you know, some of that information that was actually related to this video, and they incorporated that as part of their actual assignment to be able to go and do a good job in the risk register, sorry, in the stakeholder register. So it's very, very important to go and look at that. Now, the other thing I want you to look at is the risk register, which is also important and something you need to be submitting very, very shortly. Have a look at that.
Risk registers typically work best as a table. You don't need any dedicated software, and you can use just a simple Excel spreadsheet. You can collect a variety of information, although typically most risk registers will contain three main areas of information. 1, a reference number and some sort of description. 2, data around the impact and probability of the risk happening. And 3, data around the mitigation activity. The following Excel spreadsheet shows a typical example of a risk register. It contains our three areas. The yellow area describes the risk. You can see here where we've captured information such as the risk title, description, and an owner. In the second section, we've captured information about the impact of the risk. Here you can see us describe the probability and also associated impacts such as cost impact and the impact on the project schedule. Here we've used high, medium, and low indicators. Finally, we describe the mitigation activity with some description about what we intend to do to mitigate the risk, a probability after mitigation, and what the cost of the mitigation might be. As we said at the start, you can capture a variety of information on your risk register. Here are some other ideas of what you might want to collect. So in summary, risk registers are powerful management tools. They're presented best as a table. You can create them easily in a simple spreadsheet application. And you can collect a broad range of information around your risks and what you intend to do about them.
So guys, this is another one, and you can see that they tried to go and in that group to be able to go and pick up some of the information from that risk register. But I want to encourage all of you to go more than just the basics. If you go, for example, to Moodle, and if you go and see, all right, well, I'm going to try to find, more sample, risk registers, you'll be able to go and find, IT risk register. You'll be able to go and find images. You'll be able to see how you can potentially track various, things, likelihood, impact, severity, owner, mitigation actions, risk description. You can even find, various types, and you'll be able to even to go and prioritize the highest risk to the smallest risk. So I encourage you to go more than just simply do the basics and try to go and get the job done appropriately. So just something I want you to go and really bear in mind. Any questions, guys? Alrighty. There's going to be a bit more things we're going to go and do. Now we're going to go and talk about the scope statement, and we're going to go and review some sample scope statement. All right, guys, now we're going to go and talk about the scope statement. We're going to go over this scope statement example. You must basically create a Word template in Word and submit your working draft on or before the 1st of August, along with the stakeholder register. I just showed you an example of how you go and create a stakeholder register. But if I was to go and really guide you about, if I'm going to go and, guide you about the scope, how do we go and really go about the scope? What do we do? I'm going to go and I'm going to go here. I'm going to just go back to the file that I've opened earlier, which is a JWD consulting file that we opened a bit earlier for you guys. If you go and look at the JWD file, you'll be able to go and look at you'll be able to go and really look at that component here. So that's an example of a scope statement that was created in a JWD example. I will basically tell you that this is, for example, one thing you could go and do is looking at the scope statement that is available on the JWD case, project summary and justification, project title, date, prepared by, product characteristics, and what other requirements we're trying to go and do. If we go and look at summary of all of these project deliverables, product related deliverables, maybe technical deliverables, other deliverables, you can see all of these deliverables being listed, and you'll be able to go and see project success criteria. So this is the structure that is really provided in that JWD document. If I go and look at the system here, if I go and look here, I'll be able to go and find, this is an example of JWD that I told you about, the scope there. Not sure if there's any other example listed here. If I go and search for scope. Yeah, so that's the only document that I can actually find that is in relation to scope. One thing I sometimes recommend, especially in terms of the structure, is if I go and look at the structure that I usually recommend for the charter, I try to avoid any sort of repetition. So you can go and read that JWD case, but this is a structure that sometimes I feel is basically appropriate. So project scope, define it, what's the project title, summary and justification. So many of these things are really similar to what is in the JWD. Summary of project deliverables, risks. We basically add some risk. We talk about the project boundaries, what's in and what's out of scope. We talk about project constraints that we need to bear in mind that could prevent us from delivering the outcome. Project assumptions, for example, we are assuming that the required resources are going to be available. We are assuming normal working condition. We are assuming no overtime. Whatever basically work we try to go and do in that perspective. But it's about really, trying to go and find a project scope statement that you believe is appropriate. Create a structure. This is some structure that you might find to be beneficial, but it's about really creating that structure or any other structure, or you can use a JWD structure, and you'll be able to go and complete your work accordingly from that perspective. So I'll leave that from your end to be able to go and work through that. If I'm going to continue with the rest, do you have any questions on that?
No, sir.
All right. So as I said, we have provided an example of the JWD case. You can look page 102 to 104. There's all of these pages that we've basically extracted from there that needs to go and really be completed. Only one person who submit the work from the group. Which person from the group submits the work on Moodle?
Group leader.
The group leader only. We don't have more than one person submit more than one type of work, because if we do that, we are going to go and have a big issue in terms of assignment similarity. That's something we would like to go and avoid. We want you to have one file. I really do not like to have WinZip. If you go and do a scope register and a stakeholder register, would you please better off go and create them all as part of one document and submit that Word document accordingly? That's really the thing we would like to go and really go and create at any particular point of time, that we need to go and really bear in mind. But that's really what I want you to go and take into perspective to get the job done. Don't forget the cover sheet. I noticed, for example, in some of the submissions, people did not go and do the cover sheet as they were expected to go and do. Please do not miss the cover sheet, because you need to go and make sure you acknowledge that that is your work, and without doing that information, you're not making any of that acknowledgement. I'm going to go through the last portion of what I would like to go and be delivering today. It's about really answering, the questions. Guys, what is a project schedule management? What's a schedule management? Anyone?
Managing the time for the
Managing the time that is required to go and deliver the project. Are there any more things you can tell me about schedule management? Is there any fixed sort of activities that we need to go and bear in mind and consider?
Start and end date.
Yeah, start dates, end dates. Why is it so important for us to be able to go and achieve successful projects? Why is that so important? Schedule management.
This helps us to finish the work on time.
Exactly.
And to in perfect way.
Well, the project to be successful, it needs to be delivered within time, within cost, within specifications. That's the first primary foundations of delivering a successful project. If we're not even getting the items to go and really be delivered appropriately, then that is going to go and actually be an issue. That's going to basically be the problem we are going to go and actually talk about. So it's very important you go and look about the schedule management, all of these activities associated with schedule management. Any issues in terms of not delivering things on a particular timelines, it's going to go and really waste our resources in what we're trying to go and do at any particular point of time. So there's no point for us to be able to go and waste any of those resources. We basically need to focus on managing the schedule well and ensuring things are being delivered on the timelines expected. So schedule management is really about following all of these processes. And by us following those processes, we can ensure that the projects are going to be completed on a timely basis. It's very basically important for the critical success of the project. This success is judged on the 3 criteria, and as I said, delivered within time, within budget, within specifications, and also within the quality that is really expected. If things are not basically done within the quality that is required, we won't be able to go and really reach the goals we would like to go and really reach. What are the steps of project time management processes? Well, there are many, many steps we spoke about earlier. Planning schedule management, defining the activities, sequencing the activities, estimating the activities, developing the schedule, and then controlling the schedule. It all really flows from creating the work breakdown structure. If you don't have the right work breakdown structure, you can't really create your goals. So we need to go and really, plan schedule management. What are the policies for managing the schedule? What are the procedures? What are the documentation required for planning, executing, and controlling the project schedule? We talk about defining activities, involve identifying the specific activities that the project team members and stakeholders must perform to produce the project deliverables. When I talk about the activities, it's all of these activities will need to go and be in the work breakdown structure. And when I go and create that work breakdown structure, I can add a particular start time, duration, cost, resource that is going to go and be getting the job done. That's the sort of things we're going to need to go and really go and bear in mind. We need to then, after we go and look at all of those activities, we need to go create a sequence of those activities. When things are going to go and be starting and when things are going to go and be completed. And that's the one after it, which is estimation. But sequencing is about which one's going to happen first and which one is going to go and happen after. You're going to put those activities in the right order. You start first, I come straight after you. And then finally, you're going to go and estimate the duration of each activity, the time period to be able to go and get the job done. We need to go and develop the schedule, which involve analyzing activity sequences, resources, requirements, and activity duration estimates to create the project schedule. So that's what you basically need to go and do yourself, developing the schedule, analyzing the sequence, doing the resources, and so on. We need to then control the schedule, which involves controlling and managing changes to the project schedule. If things don't go and work according to plan, we're going to have to go and really deal with those issues accordingly to be able to go and reach the right outcomes. Guys, what is an activity?
Task.
The task, something that I need to go and complete to be able to go and ensure the job gets done. Can you think about any attribute of an activity? Can you think about any activity attribute?
Resources involved in activity.
Yeah, there are resources, there are start time, there are end time, there are relationships such as finish to start relationship, start to start relationship, to be able to go and name a few. So you write an activity or task is an element of work that normally found on the work breakdown structure. So when I create the work breakdown structure, every work breakdown structure would usually have an activity. An activity is an activity that takes time, consumes time. it have a duration, it have a cost, it have resource requirements, all of this really part of what needs to go and be delivered. The activity attributes provide schedule related information about each activity, such as predecessors, successors, logical relationships, leads, lags. These are all attributes. What comes first, what comes after. This is activities. What's the logical relationship? Finish to start relationship. What's the lead time? What's the lag time? Lag time such as how much can an activity go and be delayed? What are the resourcing requirements of a particular activity? What are the constraints? What are the imposed dates? What are the assumptions related to the activity? All of these are things we need to go and really bear in mind to be able to go and get the job to be completed. What's a milestone? Is a milestone an activity?
It's the end of the project.
Is it only the end of the project?
Important tasks to be done to ensure the project.
No, yeah, well, somehow, but there's a bit more. So my question is a milestone an activity? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, anybody agree, disagree? Does a milestone consume time?
It has no specific time duration.
So what's the duration? 1 day, 2 days, 0 days, 3 days? What is the actual milestone? What's the duration for it?
It requires a lot of time when to do research.
Milestone is 0 days. It does not consume time. It is not really work that has been done. It's simply simplifying on indicating that something has actually been completed. So if I go this milestone, if I go and say, software development completed, that's it. That's just indicating that something has been done. When I say software module 1 done, that means something has been completed. When I say testing done, that means something important has been completed. It does not consume time. It's just simply indicating that something has been completed and adjusted. So it is not really consuming time. What's the difference between an activity and a milestone? An activity consumes time. An activity requires time to go and complete. A milestone does not require time to go and complete. A milestone is simply indicating something is being done. For example, I might go and say something like, collect requirements, speaking to clients, note requirements, write requirements, edit requirements. All of these will consume time. Show requirements to client. Finally, when the client goes and agrees to the changes, we say requirements has been completed. Okay, requirements are done. Okay, so when I say something like requirements collection completed, that's a milestone. It's 0 days. It's just simply telling me that an important task that I needed to go and do, that important task has actually been completed. That's the sort of things I need you to go and bear in mind. So milestone in a project is a significant event, an event that normally has no duration, 0 duration. It basically marks an end of something. It's a checkpoint to tell you that something has been done. To be able to reach a milestone, you would usually have to go and complete many activities to be able to go and really reach a milestone. But the milestone itself is a marker to help in identifying necessary activities. Some, they use for reviews, checkpoints to be able to go and get the job done. The milestone on a project might be customer sign-off complete. It's simply meaning that the job that needed to go and be done has actually went and been completed. For this milestone to be reached, many prior activities must be completed, such as meeting the actual customers, documenting the requirements, discussing and agreeing on requirements, all of this job that needs to go and really get involved. What is a network diagram? What is a network diagram, guys? Anyone? Guys, the network diagram is really a technique for showing and a visual method how how all of these tasks are scheduled, what comes first, what comes after, and so on. In this example, for example, you see that A will have to be first, then there's D, then there's H, then there's J. B is followed by E, is followed by H, is followed by J. B is followed by F, is followed by J. C is followed by G, is followed by I, and then is followed by J. So what you notice there is that we're basically having all of these diagrams, and the way that it's done is all of these different formats, is all of these arrows. Something has to be done, something have to go and be after. There's basically techniques in terms of how things need to go and be completed, but it's really it's physically showing you graphically how is the relationship between more than one activity in a particular project or in a particular schedule. You look here, for example, we know there's two pathways, there's A and there's C, and there's B and there's C. We know that the longest duration is B and C, which is what we call the critical path. Why? Because if we look at the latest start, which is 0, minus earliest start, which is 0, it tells me 0 minus 0 equals 0. So we know that these activities cannot actually be delayed because they will delay the duration of the project. So we really need to go and think about that particular aspect. And, early start means the earliest time we can start an activity. Early finish is the earliest time we can finish an activity. So if it starts in day 0, and if its duration is 5, then it will finish in day 5. Latest finish is the latest time the activity could finish. Latest start is the latest time an activity could start. So if I go latest finish of 10 minus 5 days, we know that the latest start is day 5, which means this activity could start 5 days, after 5 days without really, in this example, delaying the end date of the project. The reason is because 5 minus 0 equals 5 means that is a slack that is available that we can actually go and really delay the end date of the project. What are the 4 types of task dependencies? There's, finish to start relationship. Activity B cannot start until A has finished. Start to start. Activity B cannot start. This is at the beginning, start, until A has started. This one here, finish to finish. Activity A cannot finish until activity B has finished. And start to finish, activity B cannot start until activity A has already went and finished. So this is a sort of relationship and dependencies that exist between various items and various tasks that I need you to really go and bear in mind. Define the 3 important tools and techniques for developing a schedule. Gantt chart is the most important one. It's basically show you graphically the schedule, and I told you earlier, so many examples, it show you the start time, the end time, the activity ID, the summary tasks, the predecessors, the progress tasks, the how much we're progressing in the completion, the people assigned to particular task. It can even, it shows you a lot of information you can see on a Gantt chart, that you could look at it and graphically you can understand how the project is progressing and what's supposed to go and happen at any particular point of time. The critical path analysis is I want to go and make sure I'm making analysis. I want to go and analyze which activity in my project is basically considered to be a critical activity. Which activity, if it's delayed, it is going to go and delay the start of my project. That's something that I'm going to go and bear in mind. The activities that cannot be delayed are the activities that are on a critical path. And the critical path, and every activity on a critical path is an activity that must be very closely managed. Because if you look in this example here, 0 minus 0 equals 0, means there is no slack. Means if this activity will take 11 days to complete, if this finishes after 11, the activity after it will start after 11. And this activity won't finish until day 18. So any activity on the critical path, if it's going to take longer than expected, the duration of that project is going to go and take much more longer. Does that make sense? Are we clear on that? Thumbs up. All right, guys. So we spoke also critical path, PERT analysis. I told you earlier, it's basically a formula, A plus 4B plus C divided by 6. A is, we basically collect 3 estimation of how long an activity will take to be able to be completed. A is my optimistic estimate. B is the most likely estimate, and C is a pessimistic estimate. So we basically say an activity, I believe optimistically, it's going to take 2 days. Most likely, it's going to take 4 days. Pessimistically, it's going to take 6 days. So what do? We go and create that, that schedule, and we go and say, all right, A, which is my optimistic, 2 days, plus 4 times most likely, plus 4 times 4, plus pessimistic, plus 6. Divide that by 6, and I'll use that to be able to go and create an estimation of how long something is going to go and take. Every activity is going to really go and actually take. Do you have any questions, guys? All right, guys. We care about you. We care about your success. We want you to make sure you are working very hard to achieving the success that you deserve. We just want to say thank you very much for your time. Keep working hard. Remember, you have a second progress task that is due on Sunday at 11 o'clock. It is a scope, and I'll leave the stakeholder register. So make sure you're working very hard on these activities in line with what we taught you. Thank you very much for all your hard